So here's the Google Doc that has the Understanding Your Course Grade assignment. Obviously, you can go in and tweak the initial directions, but the biggest thing is just that students understand that the purpose of this is to help them better understand how a weighted gradebook works. So the first thing is that I've noticed a lot of students don't understand what the different weights are for the assignment groups. So for this one, you would just want to enter in your different assignment groups. So customize this for your assignment groups. And then I provided the hint to students that they can find this information on their course syllabus, the syllabus link in Canvas, or the grades in Canvas. So obviously you could customize this based on where your students could find that information. So let's say you don't provide the syllabus link in Canvas, well then take it out. Otherwise you would confuse students. Then it's just which assignment group is worth the most, so has the highest weight, and in your words, what do you think this means? For this one, it's just kind of getting a feel for what do the students think it means. I mean, do they understand? I mean, this could be kind of a no right or wrong answer. It's just kind of what do the students understand in terms of what does a weight of 30% for quizzes, what does that mean to them? Do they understand it at all? And this kind of might even help you as you maybe reflect back on this assignment with your students to let them know, well, this is what that weight actually means. So moving on, part two is kind of the meat and potatoes part, and that's the what if grades. So a lot of students don't even know what the what if grades are. So it's important to first let them know what the what if grades are and provide a link to where they can get more information. So the next part is hopefully you're doing this at the very beginning of the semester so students don't have any actual grades yet for the course. So what I did is list my first 3 assignments for the course and then have the students go in using the what if grades and say what grade do they think they're going to get in points for each of these 3 assignments. And then I also say, hint, make sure not to give yourself more points than are possible. Otherwise we're going to get into extra credit and that's a whole different video. So once they do that, we're going to have them try out some different scenarios with the what if grades to see what's going to happen. So enter what your total course grade is for each of the following scenarios. So the current total course grade would be the grade after they give themselves these 3 grades above. You would then say, what is the total course grade if you change your discussion week 1 grade to a 0, which their grade would go down. What would happen if you change it to a 5, which is a 5 out of a 10, so a 50%? Well, it would go a little bit up. And then what would happen if you got a 10 out of 10 or a perfect on it? Well, obviously, it would go up even higher. So what's the purpose of this? The purpose is that we want students to kind of compare what a 0 compared to a 5 compared to a 10, what it will do to their grade. A lot of students think, oh, well, I don't have a lot of time to do this. And so I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to take a 0 on it. Well, what they don't realize is that 0 really hurts their grade. That 0 hurts their grade worse than if they would have just tried and done something. So by doing this, we're hoping students can see just trying, even getting a 50%, so obviously not great grade, but even a 50% will improve their grade and be better than that 0 is. So moving along, and also this is really important. Based on this information, is it better to not do an assignment, so get a 0, or at least get partial credit? The next part is enter what your total course grade is. So it's another scenario one. The purpose of this one is for the students to understand the weighting and how the different weighting impacts the grade. So for this scenario, we're going to change your discussion week 1 grade back to whatever they entered for question 1. So whatever it was back up here. Then what is your total grade if you get a perfect score, 20 out of 20 on quiz 1? What is your total grade if you get a 0 on quiz 1? Then they're going to click, there's a little blue arrow that's going to show up anytime they change anytime they change a grade into a what if grade, there's a little blue arrow that pops up next to it. If they click that arrow, it completely removes that grade and wipes it out, so it kind of puts it back to whatever it was before. So we want them to click that blue arrow. So basically this column now is going to be similar to that row, column, whatever, will be back to what it was up here. So we're basically just reverting the grade back to what it was here because we then want what is your total grade if you get a perfect score, 20 out of 20 on homework 1. So technically a lot of students would think, well, quiz 1 is worth 20 points, homework 1 is worth 20 points, so they're worth the exact same amount. Well, what the students may or may not understand is that quizzes the whole category quizzes is actually worth 30% of their grade, where homeworks are only worth 10%. So what that means, and hopefully they'll understand by doing this, is that if they get a 20 out of 20 on quiz 1, that's going to count a lot more towards their grade than getting a 20 out of 20 on homework 1. So then what is your total grade if you get a 0 on homework 1? And they'd enter that in. So then for the questions, for the scenarios above, compare your grade for when you get 20 points for quiz 1 compared to when you get 20 points for homework 1. Which assignment caused your grade to go up more? Why do you think this happened? And there I include the hint. Look at which assignment group each assignment is in. And some students don't realize that if they just mouse over the assignment name, they actually get which assignment group that assignment's in. And then what is the weight for that group? Then for this assignment, or the scenario above, compare your grade for when you get 0 points for quiz 1 to when you get 0 points for homework 1. Which assignment caused your grade to go down more, quiz 1 or homework 1? Why do you think this happened? Well, in both of these scenarios, quiz 1 will impact their grade, whether it's a high grade or a low grade, more than the homework 1. And that's what you really want students to understand. The last question is kind of I want students to really kind of get into it and to try to really play around. And so it's try entering different grades, but ultimately, which assignment do you think is worth the most overall for this course and why? Well, that may or may not work for your course. For my course, it would work because I have one assignment, one final project that's in one of my highest assignment groups, and it's worth the most points. So this isn't a perfect one because obviously if you do the math, you could potentially be in a low group, a low assignment weight group, and still have worth a lot of points. And so mathematically, it could be worth a lot, but ultimately, like if you've got a final exam that's worth, 50% of the grade compared to everything else, well, pretty much that grade is going to be worth the most overall for this course. So if you don't have any clear contenders here, then you might want to not use this question. But if you've got an assignment, or if you've got maybe an assignment group that you really want to hit home or something like that, this is a good place to kind of let students play around and then really get that this assignment or these assignments are really, really important, and this is why.